Chapter 1. The Whispering Shadows of Blackwood House. Deep in the heart of an ancient forest, shrouded by towering pines and creeping fog, lies Blackwood House, a decaying mansion that the nearby town has long forbidden anyone to approach. Local legends whisper of unspeakable tragedies and inexplicable occurrences that turned this once grand estate into a place of despair and dread. The mansion, with its sagging roof and shattered windows, seems to brood in silence as if guarding the dark secrets of its past. On a crisp autumn evening, two adventurous campers, Mark and Lily, ventured into the forest seeking an escape from the mundane. Their plan was simple: pitch a tent beneath the starry sky, share stories around a small campfire, and embrace the thrill of the wilderness. Unbeknownst to them, fate had charted a course toward the infamous Blackwood House. A glimmer of light, or perhaps a trick of the mind, drew them off the beaten path, into the very heart of the forest's mystery. Warily, they followed a narrow, overgrown trail until the spectral silhouette of Blackwood House emerged from the gloom. Its door hung loosely on its hinges, inviting yet foreboding. Despite a mounting sense of dread, curiosity nudged them forward. Stepping inside, they were met with a chilling stillness, punctuated only by the creak of rotting floorboards beneath their feet. Dust motes danced in the weak beam of their flashlights, revealing faded portraits, broken trinkets, and scattered remnants of a life that once was. In a crumbling study, they uncovered a brittle diary, its pages filled with desperate entries, a series of inexplicable events that culminated in unspeakable acts and mysterious disappearances. With each line, the oppressive atmosphere grew heavier, as if the very walls absorbed their sorrow. A whisper here, a shadow there. Every sound seemed to murmur warnings, urging them to flee. But as night deepened, the house itself seemed to awaken. Unseen forces stirred the stagnant air. Doors slammed without cause, and the echo of soft, anguished voices filled the corridors. The layout of the mansion twisted impossibly before their eyes, corridors elongating and turning back on themselves, trapping them in a labyrinth where time and reason unraveled. Panic set in as they realized that every exit led only to more questions. Every shadow concealed untold horrors. In the final, heart-stopping moments, Mark and Lily faced a harrowing choice: succumb to the relentless grip of the haunted house or risk everything, forever marked by the night. When curiosity led to a confrontation with the restless dead, Blackwood House remains a silent sentinel of sorrow and mystery, its dark past eternally intertwined with the fate of those who dare trespass its cursed domain. As you watch, listen carefully to the whispers in the wind, for in the silence of the forest, Blackwood House is always waiting. Chapter 2. The House That Breathed. In the quiet countryside of Pennsylvania, there sat an abandoned Victorian mansion known as the Holloway House. It had been empty for over 50 years, but the locals swore they could hear it breathing on cold, misty nights. The wind would rush through its broken windows, and its rotting wooden walls would groan, but some claimed the sounds were not of nature, exhaling in the darkness. One night, a group of 4 urban explorers, eager to uncover its secrets, entered the mansion armed with flashlights and cameras. The air inside was stale, thick with the scent of decay. The floorboards creaked under their weight, as if reluctant to hold them. As they wandered deeper, they found themselves in a grand dining hall, with a long table covered in dust. A single candle sat at its center, unlit, but melted wax dripped fresh onto the wood. Then the breathing began, a low, rhythmic inhale and exhale, as though the house itself was alive. The sound seemed to vibrate through the walls, sending shivers down their spines. One of them, Jason, moved toward the candle, reaching out with trembling fingers. As soon as he touched it, the sound stopped. Silence filled the air, then a whisper directly behind him. The others screamed as they saw a shadow move across the wall, though there was no one there. Jason spun around, but the room was empty. Suddenly, the walls groaned and the floor beneath them cracked. The wood splintered apart, revealing a dark chasm beneath the house, filled with bones, human bones. Something unseen yanked Jason back into the darkness, and the others fled, never daring to return. On cold nights, if you listen closely, you can hear it breathing. Chapter 3. The Man in the Fog. It was supposed to be a weekend getaway. 4 friends rented an old cabin in the woods of Oregon, miles away from civilization. The first night was peaceful, crackling fire, laughter, and the distant sound of owls. But on the second night, the fog rolled in. It was thick, unnatural. The trees disappeared behind a wall of gray, and even their flashlights barely cut through the mist. That's when they saw him, a tall, dark figure standing just beyond the tree line. "Who the hell is that?" Jake muttered, peering through the window. The figure didn't move. It stood motionless, as though waiting for something. Then, after a long pause, it took a single step forward. "Maybe it's a lost hiker?" Sarah suggested, though her voice trembled. But something about the way he moved wasn't right. He took another step, then another, each one slow and deliberate. Then the knocking began. A heavy, deliberate knock on the cabin door. The friends froze. "Don't open it," whispered Emily. His limbs were stiff, his posture unnatural. The knocking came again, louder this time. The figure outside never moved. It stayed at the edge of the fog while the knocking continued. Panicked, they checked the back door. It was locked. The windows secure. Yet the knocking didn't stop. Then something worse happened. From the kitchen, they heard the sound of the back door unlocking. A single click. Jake grabbed a knife from the counter as they all rushed to the kitchen, only to find the door still locked. But on the fogged-up window beside it, there was a message written in the condensation. "Let me in." The friends didn't sleep that night. They sat in the center of the cabin, backs to each other, weapons in hand, as the knocking continued until dawn. When the sun finally rose, the fog disappeared, and so did the figure. But outside, in the dirt, they found deep footprints circling the entire cabin. The cabin owner later told them no one had rented the place in years, because every time someone did, the knocking returned. And the figure in the fog always came back.